So some people say, and I believe this, that your cover design is the most important marketing that you'll do. And so there's the old idea, don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody judges a book by its cover. And so having a nice design that catches people's eye makes it that much more likely that they'll read your book. It also has elements in it for the print book that goes beyond just the image of the cover. You'll have a blurb on the back that'll give a high level description of your book, trying to entice people to read it. And so this is all important to get it as good as you can. And in my opinion, if you're going to put money into your book when you're releasing it, this is where you'll get the most bang for your buck. So if you sort of say, I'm only willing to spend X dollars on this book, the cover design is probably the place where you want to put a good chunk of that money, if you're sort of limited how much it is. Now, I feel that no one, including me, can tell you where or whether you should spend money on your book. That's really up to you. And so I just think that the cover, you can get a cover for a reasonably modest amount of money that's much, much, much better than what most people can pull together for themselves. So it seems to me that what you get, the value for money for a cover, is really high. So if you're on a real shoestring budget and you want a cover for free, you can absolutely get that. There's free cover designers on Amazon, and it's a really, really, really simple thing where you just kind of put in some information and you choose from different designs, and then you get a cover. And so this image right here is a free cover that I got for one of my early books when I didn't want to pay anything for the cover. And people will be able to tell that it's a free cover for the most part. Other authors certainly, but even readers will kind of look at it and be like, I don't know about that. I asked at Allison the Bookman, a used bookstore here in North Bay, if they would carry my books. They carry new books, and they have a new local author section. And Annette Allison, the woman who runs the store, set up a meeting with me, and she wanted me to bring in my books for her to see them before she'd agree to sell them. And I brought them in, and she took them out and looked at them, and almost immediately she was like, "Oh yeah, these look great. Yes, absolutely, we'd be happy to carry these." And so what she was really afraid of is that it would just look like a really cheap, terrible cover like this, which I imagine if I'd come in with books that had covers like this, she wouldn't have been willing to carry them, which is fair enough. Beyond the freely generated covers from Amazon, you can use Photoshop style software to make your own covers. And Canva is a website that works a lot like Photoshop. It's free, and you can make a cover yourself. And my wife and I both tried doing this early on. We both tried making covers for my books, and none of them looked super, super great. I was quite dissatisfied with all of the covers that both of us made. And so I kind of moved on to buying covers fairly quickly. I was reluctant to put money into any other part of releasing books, but I did put money into the cover fairly early on. You could, in theory, create your own as a craft project. So if you could draw, or if you could paint, or if you could even just use kind of like, cutting images from things and pasting it in, you could make your own cover. And then you could scan it and have a cover for your book that way. And so if you were artistically inclined, in a lot of ways, I think that's kind of cool if it's a good looking cover and if the author made it themselves. That's neat. This wasn't really on the horizon. It wasn't really available when I was getting started with this, but generative AI, I'm going to talk about this more in detail later, but it can now be used to create images, and you can make quite a nice cover with generative AI. And it looks great. You'll need to have some Photoshop skills to kind of turn it from an image into a cover. Not a lot, but you'll need a little bit of Photoshop skills to be able to do that. And there are some people who can spot AI images, and some of those people hate any use of AI. And so if you have an AI cover, if you have a generative AI cover, you do run the risk of people giving your book low ratings and boycotting it and denouncing it, and it really sets off some people. So that's a risk with any usage of AI. There are cheap options for getting a cover, and this cover on the right here is an example of what's called a pre-made cover. And so artists design the cover and they make it look as nice as they can. And then here the title, the author's name is John Premade, and the book title is Fear of the Dark. And so you can buy this cover, and then they'll change the author name to your name, and they'll change the book title to your book title. And so I had a book, Merchant Magician, that I thought this image would work out reasonably well for, and I thought about buying this pre-made cover. And you're going to pay $40 to $200 for these. And there is some customization you can do. Just a cover like this would be like an ebook cover. But then you might want a spine and a back, which would allow you to use it for a print cover. And with these pre-made covers, you can pay to expand these and turn them into a print cover, not just an ebook cover. And then there's also the options to create wings for a dust jacket and give you images for that. These often have a really fast turnaround time. Some of the websites can change the author name and the title on it, and they can do everything you want automatically. So you don't even have to wait for the artist to make changes. You just buy the book, give it your name and the name of your book, and it customizes everything, and then you can download it and you can use it. So it's fairly inexpensive, $40 to $200, and you can get this very quickly. The other cheap option is sites like Fiverr let you hire freelancers. And for $25 to $125, you can get them to make you a book cover, and they'll use stock art. And so there's these huge repositories that the artists will have access to, and it just has all of these different images, and you can go through and you can pick out different images from the stock art catalog, and then they can put together a attractive cover for you around those. And there's a really funny article I read years ago, and they called it The Hottie in a Hoodie, and it was all of these romance novels that all had the same guy in the same hoodie on their covers. And what it was is this dude had done a photo shoot where they'd shot a bunch of images of him in this hoodie, and they were for sale on a stock art site. And a lot of these different romance authors had each picked these images to use for their covers, so it looked like the same guy in the same hoodie on a whole bunch of different romance novels. And so you get a bit of that the covers may look similar to other covers because you're using the same stock art, but there's just really a massive number of images from stock art that you can choose from, and the cover designers can compose them in a unique way. And it's not a huge issue. So if somebody sort of said to you, well, if you have stock art, your cover is going to look like everybody else's, I don't fully agree with that. You do need, though, to be able to describe what it is that you want. So when you go to a Fiverr cover design artist, certainly the ones that you're paying $25 to $125, they're not going to go and read your book and then come up with an artistic vision for your cover and design it. They're going to create exactly the cover that you ask them for. And anything that you don't specify, they'll use their best judgment for, and they'll design it using that. And then they will make changes if things aren't quite right for it. So they'll put together the cover that you ask for. And so I like this cover reasonably well. My wife likes it better than I do. And this was a cover that I described to the cover artist, and she said, well, then go and find me some stock art that I'll use for this. And so the idea would be that it'd be kind of like an urban setting, a city setting, and there'd be like a blue kind of mystical mist on it. And then I said, I want like a shadowy figure who represents the protagonist, but they're not recognizable. There's no recognizable features. And she said, okay, find the stock art that you like. And I had to find this alleyway stock art. I had to find the silhouette that I used, and then she composed it all and put the cover together. There are some scam artists, even on sites like Fiverr. And so years ago, I was trying to get a logo made for a company that we were starting at the time. And I went on Fiverr and I hired a guy to design a logo. And what he designed was just ridiculous. It looked like some kid in grade 5 had put it together. Words were misspelled and it was just unbelievably sloppy. And it looked really, really, really bad. And I said to him, he sent it to me and I said, "This is terrible." And I said, "What you sent me is unusable. There's no way I can even tell you to make how to make revisions to make this usable." I said, "The whole thing is just complete garbage." And so he refunded me my money. And, I didn't get scammed, but you will get people doing that. There's one cover artist I was talking to on Fiverr, and she had this beautiful cover there. And so I went to the artist or the author of that book and I sent her a message and I said, "This woman on Fiverr has your cover in her portfolio." And I wanted to ask you what she was like to work with. And the author wrote back and she said, "She's lying. I didn't get that cover off of Fiverr. I hired Deranged Doctor Designs to make my cover for me. And, she's just using it in her portfolio. She didn't create that cover." And so you have to be somewhat careful about things like that. But I found a few Fiverr cover artists that I like, and I keep going back to them, and they're very affordable. And I like what they produce. You can see my books are at the back of the room. There's 8 books there, and you can have a look at the covers. All of them were pretty well, all of them were designed off of Fiverr. So depending on how well you like them, that's kind of the sort of thing that you can get for $50 on Fiverr, 25, $50 on Fiverr. So this was kind of how it went with the cover design. So I gave the specification I mentioned on the last page, and I sent her the stock art, and she sent me this first image, and the man is kind of straddling the railing that's going down the steps, and so that didn't look right. And it's got this really, really sharp lines in the silhouette, which wasn't what I wanted. So I wrote back to her and I said, "That looks pretty good overall, but I said the man should be off to one side of the railing. He shouldn't be straddling the railing." And then I said that it also should be that the mist is over the figure, so the figure shouldn't be on top of the mist. And so in the second one, she put him off to the side and she put the mist over top of the silhouette, so he's sort of covered up. And I said, "This is really good." And I said, "The only thing is that the silhouette looks a little bit too sharp and defined. It should be blurred more into the mist." And so that's what she did with the third one. And I said, "This is great." And I paid her, and then I had my cover, and it was a turnaround of a few days, the back and forth. I think I kind of went from sending her the conception and paying for it to having the cover in 5 days or something like that. And each time I asked for changes, it would be 24 hours and she'd send me a new version of it. After I got her to do the second book in this series, she did this kind of black outline of the title and the author name that really made it pop. And then when I went back to the previous version of it, the first book, Merchant Magician, I just found that I really didn't like how blurry the title was and my name was on it. And so I just got on Photoshop and I added a black outline around the title and around my name. And that was exactly what I think she did with the second book, and it made it pop. And so I then made a new version of the cover myself. And she, after I purchased the cover from her, I got all of the source files, so I was able to edit them and make my own version of the book exactly this way. I think I also might have sharpened up the background a little bit, and so that kind of got a little bit more of the city and the buildings moving up. And so this is the cover design that I use now for that book. If you have more money to spend than what a Fiverr would charge, and if you want to put more money into it, there's absolutely cover design boutiques that will happily kind of offer you a more premium product. This is the cover that I saw on Fiverr, and it was not done by the Fiverr artist. She was trying to scam people saying she'd made this. And this Tiffany Hackett author is the person who I talked to about it, and she created this from Deranged Doctor Designs. And I think it's just a beautiful cover. I think that's as good as anything that you'd get from a traditional publisher that you'd see in a bookstore. And these boutiques really specialize in these covers. They will typically still be using stock art, but they'll provide a lot more insight into making it a really aesthetically pleasing cover, instead of you just kind of describing things and then them trying to execute your design. They'll work with you a lot more to try to make it really engaging. This takes time, weeks or months. I think Deranged Doctor, you get on their queue 3 months ahead of what you need the cover for. It's a beautiful cover, but it costs hundreds of dollars. I think Deranged Doctor is $300 or $400 for a cover. And if you want to get into custom art, so if you want somebody to actually draw or paint a scene that's actually taken from your book and use that for the cover, you're looking at thousands of dollars. And so, like, the old TSR books often had Larry Elmore's paintings as the covers for like Dragonlance and things like that, and it have Tanis on it, and it have the actual characters from the book, paintings of them. And you're going to be paying a lot of money for something like that, and because you're basically commissioning a work of art at that point. And if you got to the point where you do that, I'd probably also try to get, as part of what you're buying, the original artwork and frame it and have it in your house, because you're going to be paying a lot of money for that.